She was just a teenage girl walking home from school like any other day. But to one officer, the color of her skin was enough to make her a target. What started as harmless steps down a quiet street suddenly turned into a nightmare of harassment and humiliation. She didn't fight back, she couldn't, but someone else was watching. Someone the officer never expected. This wasn't just about one girl. It was about a truth far bigger and far darker. The question is, how far would racism go before justice finally struck back? It was supposed to be just another afternoon. 14-year-old Maya, a bright student with dreams bigger than her small neighborhood, walked home with her backpack slung over one shoulder. She loved the rhythm of these walks, the crunch of gravel under her shoes, the warm sunlight dipping between trees, and the sense of freedom after a long day at school. Her world, though simple, was filled with hope. What she didn't know was that, on this very path she'd trusted all her life, danger was waiting. A uniform that should have meant safety was about to become a weapon of fear. And with every step closer to home, she unknowingly walked straight toward the moment that would test her strength and expose an ugly truth about the world around her. Maya's footsteps echoed softly against the cracked sidewalk, but another sound soon joined them, the low rumble of a police cruiser slowing just behind her. The flashing lights weren't on, but the presence was unmistakable. She didn't look back at first, trying to convince herself it was nothing. Just another car on the road. But when the vehicle rolled to a stop beside her, her heart skipped. The officer stepped out, tall, broad, his boots crunching against the pavement. His eyes narrowed, not with curiosity, but with the sharp glare of someone who had already judged her. He didn't ask if she was okay, didn't offer a smile. Instead, he loomed closer, demanding to know what she was doing in this neighborhood, as if her very existence here was a crime. Maya's throat tightened. She clutched the straps of her backpack, her voice barely escaping as she explained she was just walking home from school. But the officer wasn't listening. His gaze scanned her up and down, like she was guilty of something he couldn't even name. He accused her of trespassing, of wandering where she didn't belong. Words meant to belittle her, strip her of her dignity. Passers-by glanced, then quickly looked away, unwilling to intervene. Maya felt exposed, like the whole street was shrinking around her. The officer's voice grew harsher, his stance more aggressive, each step forward pressing her further into fear. He blocked her path, his hand brushing near the cuffs at his side, a silent threat of what could come next. Maya froze. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body wouldn't move. Every horror story she'd overheard about encounters like this came flooding back, and she realized how quickly a simple walk could spiral into something far worse. The officer leaned closer, his words chilling, that she'd better learn her place. Her chest tightened. But then, from a distance, another figure appeared, someone watching, someone who knew her. Relief flickered in her eyes, but the officer didn't notice. His focus was only on her, and his power trip wasn't over yet, because in his mind, Maya was just a target. What he didn't realize was that she wasn't alone, and the person about to step forward would change everything. The officer's voice grew sharper, echoing off the empty street. His hand hovered near his cuffs, his shadow swallowing Maya's smaller frame. Fear pressed down on her chest, every breath shallow, every second heavier than the last. She had done nothing wrong, yet here she was, cornered, treated like a criminal simply for walking home. The officer leaned closer, his words venomous, threatening to take her in, to make sure she disappeared if she didn't comply. Maya's knees trembled. For a moment, it felt like the world had stopped. No sound, no help, just her and the suffocating weight of his authority. Her mind raced with stories she'd overheard, names of kids who never made it home. Was she about to become one of them? And then, another voice cut through the tension. Firm, unshaken. A man's voice calling out from behind. The officer's head snapped around, irritation flashing across his face. But when he saw who stood there, his arrogance faltered. It was Maya's father, not just a parent, but a senior FBI agent, his badge gleaming under the fading light. He stepped forward with a calm, unshakable authority that carried more weight than the officer's threats ever could. The shift was immediate. The hunter caught off guard, the predator suddenly realizing he was exposed. Maya's fear clashed with sudden relief, her body still shaking as the power dynamic flipped in a heartbeat. For the first time since the encounter began, she could breathe. But the tension hadn't vanished. It had only changed form. Now it wasn't just about her safety, it was about justice. Because in that moment, the officer wasn't in control anymore. And what happened next would determine not only Maya's future, but the price of the officer's hate. The silence after that moment felt louder than the officer's shouts. Maya stood frozen, her father's presence both a shield and a reminder of how close she had come to losing everything. The officer's confidence crumbled under the weight of authority higher than his own. He stepped back, his earlier threats now hollow, his power stripped away, but the damage had already been done. Maya walked home that night, but she was not the same girl who had started that walk. Fear still lingered in her chest, the memory of being targeted for nothing but the color of her skin etched deep into her spirit. Her father's badge had protected her, but what if he hadn't been there? How many others had no shield, no voice, no one to step in when hatred wore a uniform? This was never just about one officer, one street, or one girl. It was about a system that too often sees innocence as suspicion, childhood as a threat, blackness as a crime. Maya's story is a reminder that racism doesn't always whisper in the shadows. It shouts in broad daylight, daring the world to ignore it. So the question lingers: how many more walks home will be interrupted by hate before things truly change? And how long will we allow injustice to wear a badge and call it protection?